today's message is a commentary. And the commentary is going to be on what y'all missed on Wednesday, seeing as there were so few of us here. So I want to talk about Zechariah Chapter 3, which was out of last week's readings. So let's see what we got. You ready? Got your notebooks? Bibles open to Zechariah Chapter 3? All right. Here's how I like to do things. I'm going to literally take all 10 verses of the reading, and I'm going to go over all of them. Now, sometimes there's great, super neat stuff just sort of hidden in a little bit of the text, maybe in the way the Hebrew word is used, or something like that, or other little things that we find. It's not for nothing that Zechariah 3 is so important. Now, by the way, Revelation is a commentary on Zechariah, among other prophets. But that's where it's coming from. So it, as a book, is a very, very good book to look at. And it's got some real heavy stuff in it. Okay, so we're setting the scene, and it says, "And he showed me Yehoshua." Now, this is Zechariah talking. "He showed me Yehoshua, the high priest, standing before the messenger of Yahweh, and the Satan standing at his right hand to be an adversary to him." And then you just move on to the next verse and skip the first verse, and oh, well, that's nice. No. The first verse tells us a lot. What we're going to do, who is there? Let's look at the who in this scene. We have Yeshua, we have Yahweh is there. It's not implied in the first verse, but we'll see this in a minute. The messenger of Yahweh, the Melech, HaMelech Yahweh. Yehoshua, who is the high priest, and his name is Yehoshua. In English, it's called Joshua. We'll cover that in a moment. And the adversary, who's called an adversary, and his name is Ha-Satan. It's not a name. It's just the adversary, kind of like the garbage man. It's a description. And there's possibly a heavenly host. The rest of the text seems to lead us that there must be a heavenly host or other people present. And they are in I forgot to write it down. All right. Where are they? Possibly the heavens. The Satan is present as an adversary to Yehoshua. The text exactly says those words. He's an adversary to Yehoshua, the high priest. Not just some guy named Joshua the high priest. And he may, and I'm thinking from the rest of chapter 3, he is figuratively represents all of those that serve Yahweh, Levites. If we looked at it today, it would be people like Pastor and myself and other pastors and rabbis. And they serve Yahweh in righteousness and set apartness. Told you we were going to do word study, all right? See if you like this, okay? If you like this, we'll keep doing it. If not, we'll keep doing it. I have to do this kind of stuff because our English doesn't show these things. In that verse, a word, Ha-Satan, is used. Ha-Satan, and that's how it's pronounced, Ha-Satan. And it's, well, y'all say the Satan or Satan. That's who that is. The adversary. That's what the word means. It isn't a name. It's not a proper noun. It's just a description of this guy. He is the adversary. This word's important because we see it used again in the same verse. Twice it's used, and it's the Satan, the adversary. Keep that in mind, who you're speaking of, because this guy gets into some serious trouble shortly. Yeah, he does anyway. Verse 2, ready? Yahweh said to Ha-Satan, quote, Yahweh rebuke you, Ha-Satan. Yahweh, who has chosen Jerusalem, rebuke you. Is this not a brand plucked from the fire? Whoa. Get the wording in the way it is. Yahweh said to Ha-Satan, Yahweh rebuke you, Ha-Satan. The text, the Hebrew text, uses Yahweh rebuke you, Ha-Satan. Didn't call him by name. When Yahweh rebukes somebody using his name, now he said this. Yahweh says, Yahweh rebuke you. Just leave it up. Oh, not me. You guys don't want to look at me. This is bad. It's like saying, I rebuke you in my name. But even worse than that, I rebuke you, Yahweh rebuke you. It's as though he's adding extra emphasis to the rebuke. Bad news. And the second part, okay, let's look at the word. And this is exactly what the text says. Yahweh Bekah Ha-Satan the Yig-ar, and that means Yahweh rebuke you, the Satan. Our English text says, Yahweh rebuke you, Satan. Capital S. It's not what the Hebrew says. Why am I'm going to really stress this. He doesn't have a name. He is just the adversary. He used to be important, but he really messed up. And by messing up, he is reduced to nothing more than a description. Must be awful bad for him, seeing as he was like the top dude of the praise and worship team. You know, he was. Oh, and the thing about Jerusalem, Yahweh's just basically saying, it's like repeating himself. He's making sure you understand that it's Yahweh who chooses Jerusalem, not just some guy. And then he says, is this not a brand plucked from the fire? And we read, and this is the English, and we read the English and it's like, what? I don't get it. We don't understand that Hebraicism. Possible meanings. This is probably the best thing that it means. Is this not a small remnant returned from captivity? The fire being captivity, and the brand, the firebrand, being plucked from it. And think about that. We are a remnant. If we're a remnant in the captivity, in okay, just forgot the word. Yeah, we're out here in the nations. We're low. We're really low. And being a captive, being a slave. And we're still kind of, smelling the smoke from the slavery, and he's plucked them out. He's referring to Yehoshua. And who all of the people that Yehoshua represents. All of those who are serving Yahweh. Other possible meaning. Yehoshua represents Israel in exile. That's us. And Yahweh is saying that he will remove them, Israel, from the exile. Got it? Getting it down? All right. Wow, we only got to verse 3. Okay, and Yehoshua was dressed in filthy garments, and he was standing before the messenger. The filthy garments represents the sin of Israel, of the people of Israel, of the nation of Israel, all 12 tribes, that caused the exile. The 10 tribes got exiled, and kind of really they're still out here. But the other 2 got exiled too. They were sent to Babylon. Why? Because they disobeyed the Torah. What's sin? Disobeying Torah. Verse 4. And he answered and spoke to those who stood before him, saying, this is Yahweh speaking, remove the filthy garments from him. And to him he said, see, I have removed your guilt from you, and shall put costly robes on you. Now this sounds real good, reading it in the English. You can put costly robes on him. Oh, that's real cool. He's going to take off the old nasty clothes and put on some nice clean clothes. It's more than that. He is commanding the angels to remove the sins of Israel from the high priest. Exiled Israel. The high priest equals exiled Israel. The sins of Israel equals the sins of Israel that caused the exile. He's going to remove those things from Israel. He will remove the guilt or the iniquity of Israel's sins. Future thing. He will clothe the high priest in the Scripture says high or what does it say? Costly robes. Another word study. Let's go look up this word. Makalatsot, or costly robes. Robe of state. Well, that changes costly robes in a big hurry, didn't it? The garments of the high priest. It's not just an expensive suit. This gets equated to the so-called robe or coat of many colors that Joseph had. That's why this reading is part of it, part of the Haftarah. No, it's not a coat of many colors. It's not a fancy coat. It is the robes signifying that Joshua was a high priest. It's made out of that techlet, that blue stuff, that really, really expensive blue stuff. It signifies that he was a high priest. Leave me up on that. The garments of the high priest, not just a nice suit. Big deal and very important. He will be dressed in the robes of the high priest. And then it says, and I said, let them put a clean turban on his head. Some of your versions are going to mess that up. Then they put a clean turban on his head, and they put garments on him, and the messenger of Yahweh just kind of stood there by. Here's the deal. The clean turban gets translated as fair mitre, fair diadem, or diadem, that's, I think that's Geneva Bible, or clean mitre. It's not a mitre. It was a turban. A turban is a wrap. It's wrapped around his head. If it's the turban of the high priest, it's got a big old gold thing on it that says Kadosh Yahweh, which means set apart to Yahweh. the turban of the high priest. Little word study again. Hatzanif ha-tahor. This word tahor you've seen before. Pastor and I have both talked about it. Means ritually clean, i.e. perfect, i.e. Pure. Not just not dirty. Okay? It's tahor. It's the stuff. And sanif just means turban. And technically it says the turban, the clean. The hay, that letter and that letter, never mind, skip it. Let's move on. Clean turban is a ritually clean turban of the high priest. It's kind of like, police officers wear a police officer hat. Army guys wear an army guy hat. That's what it is. It's the hat. Zechariah 3:6 says, the messenger of Yahweh witnessed to Yehoshua. The scriptures is using the word witnessed. King Jimmy uses the angel of the Lord protested. If you have a King Jimmy and you see that word there in this verse, scratch it out and put the word either testified or witnessed, because it ain't protested. The Authorized Version says same thing. He protested on to Yehoshua. That's wrong. Geneva, before the 1611 came out, says testified unto Yehoshua. Word study. Let's go look this word up. Ya'ad, Ein Daled, means witness. Okay? Testified. And for the rest of the verse, or the chapter, you can see why it's called witness. Because this is the witness. Obviously, this can't be a protest. This is the witness. Then said Yahweh of hosts, if you walk in my ways, and if you guard my duty, then you shall rule my house and also guard my courts, and I shall give you access among these standing here. I kind of thought about that for a few minutes. Oh, wow. All those angels? Okay, the witness that the angel's giving is an if-then statement. It follows that format of if-then that we see in so many places in the Torah. Very important way of saying things. If, meaning Yehoshua and his descendants, us, those that serve, walk in his ways, guard his duty, then they shall rule his house, i.e. the temple, and guard his courts, the temple's courts. I'll give you access among these standing here. Well, who's that? I'm thinking the angels of Yahweh's court. I can't come up with anything different, and quite frankly, the rabbis aren't really a whole lot of help either. And the rest of the witness, he keeps going, because in verse 8, listen, Yehoshua the high priest, you and your companions who sit before you. This phraseology, your companions, we'll see in Ezekiel 37. The two sticks, okay? For those companions are men of symbol. For look, I'm bringing forth my servant, the branch. Cool. His fellow Kohanim, called members, men of symbol or men of sign. We did a little word study here, and we came up with Anshi, Mofate. Yep, men of symbol or men of sign. That's just what it means. I thought something like men of renown, that appears in Scripture. Mofet is wonder, sign, miracle. I got no idea what portent means, but anyhow, it's one of those. So they're men of something, of substance. They're not just a bunch of guys. Et avdi tzemach, my servant, the branch, tzemach. Tzemach. This refers kind of to a special branch, meaning the Mashiach of the Davidic tree. Not just somebody, branch you could say, well, that's the branch of the family tree, so-and-so gets born or whatever. No, it's that guy, Messiah, Yeshua. The cross-reference, I went and looked up a bunch of places. In Isaiah, it talks about the branch of Yahweh shall be splendid and esteemed. You want to see that again? That was Isaiah 4:2. Good place to look. Just write it down. You don't have to copy it. Isaiah 11:1, 1:1. And a rod shall come from the stump of Yeshua. How many of you heard that? Especially now it's Christmas, almost. One of the verses they keep quoting, a branch or a rod shall come out of the stump or the tree of Jesse. You've heard it? Yeah. Everybody shake your head. Okay. That's where it come from. And in Jeremiah 23:5, the days are coming when I shall raise for David a branch. This is all prophetic, referring to Yeshua. Everything I've clicked so far. Let's click again, see what happens. Jeremiah again says, in those days, and at that time I cause a branch, a tzemach of righteousness. Zechariah 6:12 says the same thing. A man whose name is tzemach. It is an absolute, direct, pointed reference to Yeshua. Not a sideways reference, not a maybe reference, but an absolute reference to Yeshua. And Yehoshua, Joshua, the guy Joshua, has got a part in this. But there's more. See the stone which I have put before Yehoshua, on one stone are 7 eyes. Have you ever seen that before? When you see eyes on a stone, eyes aren't on a stone, but it has I'm going to call it a sod meaning. Sod means very, very deep meaning. Three 9. I wrote something else. The stone is the foundation stone of the temple. That stone, tzemach, Messiah. Messiah is the foundation of the temple. He is the foundation of, everything. Didn't Chris sing some stuff about that? Okay. Another cross-reference about the stone in Isaiah 28:16. See, I am laying in Zion a stone for a foundation, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, the serpent. You've heard that song? That's where it comes from? Yes? Wow. And in Revelation, in the midst of the throne, 4 living creatures, in the midst of the elders, a lamb standing, having been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes. And that's referring to that stone. Then he continues, and I shall remove the guilt of that land in one day. Not in a week, not in a month, the day of Yahweh. He will remove it. Hey, I haven't been able to do that in a long time. Now. That's pretty cool. Right now, suddenly. In Zechariah 3:10, the last of Zechariah 3, it says, in that day, says Yahweh, you shall invite one another under the vine and under the fig tree. What you suppose that is? Israel shall live in peace. Come on, over to my house. We'll go sit under my vine or under my fig tree. And we'll have some iced tea and maybe biscuits or something. We're going to be at peace. No one will bother us. We won't have to walk around armed trying to protect everything. We'll be at peace. And they'll be gone. No closing comments? Well, okay.